Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Faculty of Economic and Business Universitas Gadjah Mada Research Series Program. I'm Arika Artiningsih as your host, and today we have the privilege of speaking with an expert in the field of accounting and sustainability. Before we start the discussion, let me introduce to Dr. Frendy, a distinguished academician and researcher from Nagoya University of Commerce and Business, Japan. Dr. Frendy's expertise is in accounting and sustainability and has published articles in high-ranked international accounting journal. His research interests include corporate governance, capital market, and also auditing and accounting. In this opportunity, we will discuss about sustainability accounting and reporting with Dr. Frendy. Please join me in welcoming him. Thank you, Dr. Frendy, for being here with us today. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to share your insight and experiences with us.
Thank you for inviting me here today as well.
Okay, your field of expertise is very interesting. I think it's and in this occasion, I would like to gain more knowledge from your expertise. So, what actually the key challenges and trend is sustainability accounting and reporting today, and how can organization address them to enhance their impact on sustainable development and stakeholder engagement?
Right. So I believe in these periods, so about late 2023, we are in very interesting times in which the regulations regarding the ESG or sustainable reporting has just been developed. So we become the witness in real time on how we can see these standards are developing at many different regional levels. So for example, we see a lot of very rapid development of this very comprehensive regulation regarding ESG reporting by EU countries. So we can say that EU countries will become the benchmark for ESG corporate reporting disclosures regulations in the near future.
Okay, about the ESG reporting, I think can you give us some advice, for instance, like how can organization ensure the credibility and the accuracy of their sustainability reporting? And are there any emerging mechanism or verification process that can enhance the reliability of reported data?
All right. So the development of the ESG reporting studies was just the start, right? And we are going to see how does each individual countries they could adopt, let's say, the examples that's being put forward by the EU regulators. And for example, using let's say, the US capital market regulators, for example, there will be additional challenges on ESG reporting between federal and state regulators. And coming from that, after the ESG regulations law are being set up, then there comes the questions of the users of those informations, right? So the regulators first have to pay very good attention to the need and demands and requests from the preparers of those reports. So for example, the corporations. As we know, preparing reports is not easy and it's not free. So preparers have to devote certain amount of resources and they have to consider the cost of doing that. So integrating this concern about the cost of preparing sustainability report will be very important, as we don't want this issue of cost to act as a hindrance to the application and implementation of this ESG reporting. So that's one side of it, the cost of preparing these reports to comply with the regulations. And then the second issue is the assurance. As we know, once managements who prepare these ESG reportings, they represent the voice of management, right? And as the users of these reports, not everyone will put the trust to the management's voice, right? So there need to be a certain mechanism to verify the reliability of these ESG reports that have been published by corporations by including this mechanism of assurance. So that's the second thing that will come next. And it'll be interesting to see how these assurance standards keep up with the ESG reporting requirements. Because as we know in the past, usually the assurance standards, they lag behind the reporting regulations.
Okay, so other than the cost, is there any ethical consideration that organizations should consider when reporting on their sustainability initiative?
All right. I think this question is pretty basics, and it goes again under the principle of who are actually the main, what does a corporation represent, right? Because in current time, we can say that, let's say for corporations, okay, stockholders, they elect the board of directors, right? And these board of directors represent the main supervisory body in the corporations. So that's what we have been taught in the classical business schools. But in the recent development of this ESG and sustainability reporting, now the companies have to incorporate the interests of not just the shareholders or stockholders, they have to now consider the impact of their business to the society as a whole, okay, or we call it the stakeholders. So how could the corporations balance or synergize the need, and seldom, it's pretty often conflicting interests between satisfying the interests of shareholders and the stakeholders. So I think there's a very good challenges for corporations to figure out in this, you can say, wake of the rapid development in ESG reportings.
Okay, so are there any emerging technology or data-driven approaches that promise to improve the sustainability reporting practice?
I think sustainable reporting practice could apply many technologies and experience that was applied in the financial reporting field in the past. Probably you are familiar with XBRL, Extensible Business Reporting Language. So this technology was pretty mature at this point. It's been applied by many regulators all across the world, including ESCC and the EU regulators. And I believe almost all capital market regulators in the world, they require their listed companies to publish a version of their financial statements using XBRL format. So I believe this is the next step moving forward for sustainable reporting. They could use the same technology and then adapt it for the purpose of sustainable reporting. So instead of financial statement accounts, the same taxonomy and standardization could really help standardize what does each term of the sustainable reporting that the company should report. And I believe this technology will be even more important for sustainability and ESG reporting, considering the more wider scope of the application of the report compared to standard financial statements that focus primarily on financial information.
Okay, so in other words, like your statement is like it actually can help to enhance transparency and accountability, right?
Certainly, especially in terms of the presentation side, as it will help in terms of the presentation and standardization and minimize mistakes due to the processing of the annual reports.
Okay, I look at some of your research in sustainability practice, and actually I'm quite interested in one of your research paper. It titled Regional Sustainability Development Using a Quadruple Helix Approach in Japan. Because like in this paper, it suggests the important roles of stakeholders in sustainability-driven collaboration using the quadruple helix approach. Can you explain or elaborate on the main key takeaways of your research and share with us, like how it could help to improve the effectiveness of regional sustainability based collaborative project. Yeah.
So the research was outcome of a internal project that our school performed even until now. So the sample of the research was we call it the ESG SDGs project that we done in 2020 in one of the small village near Gifu area, near our campus. So in that project, the students, the MBA students of our school are invited there and collaborate with the stakeholders that were active as a volunteers in the local forests. So using this experience where we ask the students to act as a business consultants, how do they utilize the experience, the business skills they learn in the MBAs and apply it in the context of sustainability project. So the project itself was pretty novel, and because those project was done during the COVID period, there were some challenges in how we did some of the projects online. But the outcome was interesting. So we found out that during our collaboration in the field, because students have to go to the forest and they visit and talk with the stakeholders and the volunteers, we were able to identify the 4 groups of stakeholders that contribute to the success of this project in terms of the sharing of the knowledge. So first, the roles of the academicians. We found out that they play a very important role as the bridges. We call it the term in our paper, bridging academicians. So academicians serve as a hub that connect the rest of the 3 stakeholders together, so they could solve the emerging issues of how do they increase the involvement of local populations in the forests. So that's for the academicians. Again, the second one was what are the part of the industry? What roles do they play? So the forest itself was part of the CSR initiative done by RICO corporations. And we found that the corporations were able to play a very significant role as a resource provider to the nearby community. So instead of passively reporting on contributing sustainability initiatives via the business operations only, they could benefit their local community by allowing access to this land, this forest, to the local populations. And then we have the third parties, which involve the NGOs. The NGOs also represent kind of the party that becoming the bonding agents among all of the others people that's involved in this forest project. So they were able to act as a translator because a lot of our students were international students, so they could communicate well to understand what are the needs of the volunteers that are involved in the project. And by the end, our students were able to come up with a few suggestions or proposals, and they present their results in front of all the stakeholders involved in the project.
Okay. Wow, such an interesting project. Okay, last but not least, of course, looking ahead, what are the key areas of research in sustainability development, reporting, and ethical corporate reporting? And what gaps in knowledge need to be addressed to advance the field further?
Right. I think with these current very rapid development and implementations of new ESG related regulations, we will receive a we can say, flood of new data reports that the companies will provide. Let's say in the next 2 years, especially those reports will come from the EU countries. So as an empirical researcher myself, I find it would be very exciting to use this data and to ask research questions regarding the effectiveness and how do we see these regulations in terms of effectiveness. And we can even go a bit further before that. How did this standard was developed in the first place? Okay, and I believe there will be a huge number of possibilities that researchers could explore using these new data sets. Then the second research area that I think will be interested to follow is the issue of assurance. So as I have published a few papers on auditing, it'll be interested to see how did those assurance standard was developed in the first place, because now we are witnessing it like in real time. And then how did the big four firms, like big four audit firms, how do they tackle these new challenges of consolidating their resources in terms of the pricing structure? Will they differ compared to conventional audit engagement? So there's a few topics that I'm looking forward to look into more details. There's also the issue of greenwashing as one of the motivations of these ESG regulations in order is to minimize the negative effect of greenwashing that investors have raised their concern about. So we're going to be able to observe whether these regulations, are they effective in mitigating greenwashings? In what kind of situation will they be affected? Will they be effective in mitigating greenwashing? Or in what kind of scenario in which they will be not effective, okay, in reducing the negative effect of this greenwashing? So I think that's at least three kind of research topics that comes up to my mind when you ask that questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your suggestion for the future research.
You're welcome.
To conclude, thank you, Dr. Frendy, for the insightful talk and for your enlightening discussion about sustainability accounting. Thank you for watching and see you in another research series episode. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye for now.